We all know that auto thefts have been an issue in Canada and really in many countries as well. It's surely a crisis in Canada, especially if you're driving an SUV or a truck. And in this video, we're going to look at the 2023 most stolen vehicles in Canada. And this year, number one is actually a Toyota, and it's changed from previous years. Let's get to it. Hey, it's LSF here today, and today we're here to look at Equities Association. They actually have an annual top 10 most stolen vehicles, and now we have 2023. So let's look into this press release that they have and see more information. So you can see here it says top 10 most stolen cars for 2023, and number one we have the Toyota Highlander, and the most often stolen year is the 2021. So it doesn't say the 2021 is the most stolen year, but it's the most one is the 2021 model year. So we have 123,000 roughly insured in Canada, and 3,414 are being stolen. And they're looking at a 2.76% theft rate. So what they're looking at is the number of thefts versus the number insured. So the chances of the vehicles being stolen. So we have the Dodge Ram 1500 series, and there's a lot of those. There's over 500,000 of those, and about 3,000 are being stolen, so about 0.59%. Number three is probably the closest to my channel, which is the Lexus RX. The most stolen year is actually the last year of the last generation, 2022. 96,400 insured in Canada, with 3,037 being stolen, about 3.15%. And then number four, which was number one previous 2 years, which is the Honda CR-V 2021 model year with 487,962, 2,988 stolen, 0.61%, not very high too. And number five comes to the RAV4, same year, 2021, about 500,000 cars, 2,690, which is less than the CR-V, 0.53. Then we have the only sedan, the car, the Honda Civic 2019 year, 697,143. That's a lot of Civics on the road. 1,654 are being stolen, about 0.24. So the more cars on the road, even the more cars stolen, it really doesn't, the percentage is much lower. And then when you look at the Jeep Wrangler, 2021 is the most stolen year, 141,000, and then 1,641 with 1.16%. When you look at the Land Rover Range Rover series, 4.43, that's higher than all the ones above. With only 34,600 insured, 1,533 are being stolen. So the chances of the Land Rover being stolen is much higher than even the Highlander. Then number nine, we have a bunch of vehicles here. The Chevrolet or GMC Suburban Yukon Tahoe series, 2023, 62,877, 1,488, 2.37%. Then we have number 10 rounding up is also the Chevrolet GMC Silverado Sahara 1500 series, 2006. Wow, that's very old car. More than 500,000, 595,000, 1,383. That's still a lot for an older type of vehicle, 0.23%. And it's also a truck. So if you own an SUV, a truck, the likelihood of being stolen is much higher. But not saying that if your car's not on this list, you're not at risk. The reality is you've seen on news and all that, Acuras, other brand cars, sedans are being stolen as well. It's just that it didn't make the list. So what they're saying is the Highlander is a very popular model in Canada. And you can see that, yes, they sold there's 123,000 on the road. And they're saying that globally serviceable, and it's a high resale value car, both domestically and internationally. So criminals are actually really like the Highlanders. But they're saying here, it shares similarities to nearly all the vehicles on the national list, where the vehicles are 2019 or newer models and have vulnerabilities that come with the keyless ignition. Particularly, the vehicles do not come with any anti-theft device aligned with the ULC 338 anti-theft standards. So they're saying that 2021 to 2023 auto theft has increased 48.2% in Ontario, and they have 57.9% in Quebec, 34% in Atlantic Canada, and 5.5% in Alberta. So Alberta is probably one of the safest parts in Canada to not have your car stolen. And what they're really saying is we really need to update our standards for anti-theft, and hoping that the federal government will do some work and quickly force automakers to even apply them to older vehicles. The reality is, applying them to a new model year, great. But how about the few million vehicles that are insured on the road that are still vulnerable to thefts being stolen? Like, you need to go back and get the other cars more secure. People aren't just going to go and say, okay, now I have to spend more money to get a new car so that it doesn't get stolen. Or you wait for the car to be stolen so that you get insurance and then you can buy a new car so you get a better standard vehicle. That just doesn't make sense. So, automakers, you really need to think about how do you retrofit older vehicles and how do you get them more secure so that they still aren't stolen like that easy. So we looked at the rankings in Canada, and now we can go to a few provinces and get more information on the province. So we're looking at Alberta here, which is not as highly stolen, like their rankings are not as high, and you can see the percentages are much lower here. You can definitely see that Alberta doesn't have a lot of vehicles stolen, but per capita, meaning by the population of the province versus the number of cars stolen, they're actually number one on the list, even though it looks like it's not risky. But then when you look at the cars, you can see that we have the Silverados, we have a lot of trucks, we have the Ford F-150s, the 350s, and then we have like cars that we haven't seen, like the Jeep Cherokee, and then Civic is still on the list, and then mostly the RX is still there. But when you look at it, the Highlander is actually not on the list for Alberta. And now switching over to Atlantic provinces, when you look at it, trucks, SUVs, and car is actually a blend. You can actually see that there's three cars that are included here. We do see the Dodge 1500, like the Sahara Silverado, the Ford F-150, those are the one that tops it. But then we have the Civic and the CRV, which we've seen before. We have the RAV4, but now we have the Corolla and the Hyundai Elantra that's on this list. Again, the Toyota Highlander, number one in Canada, is number 9 in the Atlantic provinces. And then we still have the Ford Escape and all those, which is on the bottom of the list. So it's a blend here, 4 SUVs, 3 cars, and 3 trucks. But definitely, numbers are not high, and we don't have the per capita information, but definitely it's not as high and as risky in the Atlantic provinces. So when you look into Ontario, Ontario is the most populated province in Canada, and I would say it will skew the Canada numbers for sure. And when you look at this top 10 list, the number, like the models and brands are very similar. It's just that things are moved up and down, and you see number 1 is the RX series and not the Highlander. That actually swapped. RX is number 3 in Canada, but they're number 1 in Ontario. And then when you look at it, the F-150 series is also on the list, which is not on the Canada list. Other than that, they're very similar. So 2 trucks, many SUVs, and 1 car. So when we look at Quebec, Quebec is also very populated, but then when you look at the rankings, totally different. The Lexus RX is not even on the list. RAV4 is number 1. Where's the Highlander? Highlander is number 4. So definitely different, but then one thing is the car is the Honda Civic. And if you look at it, there are other brands here. We have the Hyundai Tucson, we have the Acura RDX, and the Kia Sportage or Sportage. So that is a little different mix here. But definitely when you look at the numbers, they're not as bad as Ontario. But then again, it really depends on where and how many people and how many owners of those vehicles. Follow me on Instagram at LSFT Videos. You can see updates on my experience with the NX450H Plus, which may not be shown on any future videos. You can reach out to me via direct messaging if you have any questions on your Lexus. If you like this video, you can provide me feedback in the comments below, like this video, share it with your friends. This definitely will help with the YouTube algorithms. Press the subscribe button and bell icon and get notified when new videos show up. And lastly, If you want to support me further, you can provide me a super thanks, or visit my Amazon storefront before you purchase anything from Amazon, and or you can purchase products from the list on the items that I've been using with my vehicle or at home at no extra cost to you. And now let's continue with the video. So now we look at the top 10 most stolen vehicles ranking by theft frequency. So meaning by the number of vehicles that are insured versus number stolen and the higher percentage. So let's expand that for Canada. So when we track Canada, you can see that the Land Rover, Range Rover are actually, and the Defender are actually the most highest percentage. Then it comes to the RX, like the Highlander, which is number 1, is actually number 6 on this list. Even the Gladiator, the Escalade, which we've never seen, and the Lexus GX is actually on this list as well. Mercedes-Benz G-Class and the F-Pace Jaguar is on this list that we've not seen. And what does that mean? It means that there's not that many of these vehicles, but there's still a high theft rate, 1.82 for the Mercedes-Benz. So we have to look at it different ways. Yes, they sold a lot of cars, and that's why there could be a possibility of higher theft rates. But then when you look at this percentage, it's a little bit different. So they spin the data a little bit different so that you can get a sense of what is the likelihood of it being stolen. So now we look at the frequency in Alberta, and when you look at it, a lot of trucks, 2 SUVs only, and that's the RX and the Grand Cherokee. Overall, when you look at it, percentage-wise, it's not high, 1.48 for the F250, and really that's it. And then when you look at the frequency for Atlantic Canada, the list is only 5. It can't even get the top 10. So when you look at it, mostly trucks, 1 SUV, which is the CRV, and the Civic. And as usual, Ontario, which really creates the map for Canada, when you look at it, I don't think that really changes anything. When you look at the things, mostly SUVs and really 1 truck. And last but not least, Quebec. When you look at it, number 1 is actually the Jeep Gladiator at 4.35%. That's actually high. But then you see different vehicles as well. Acura's on here. You also see that there are the car of the TLX. There's no Civic here. And a lot of SUVs, and again, 1 truck. We've been talking about auto thefts for quite some time. A lot of you were concerned when you bought your NX or RX that, is it going to get stolen again? Or will it get stolen if I park it outside? I think the biggest thing is overnight, park it in your garage if you can. I think that's the biggest thing that you could do to help yourself. There are other things that you can definitely do, is like you go and buy like a club, you can get an OBD port protector, you get wheel locks, you get a lot of other things that can help protect your vehicle, but that really doesn't stop them from stealing it still. There are still ways for them to cut that steering wheel, because if they really want your car, they can get your car. There has been talks about like maybe every car should have like a PIN code, like your bank card. Some Teslas have that. Some other, if you have like the Ghost 2 system, that you can set your own PIN. But then there are arguments of, if someone needs to go and service your car, they need to know your PIN. Then there's that hassle of having to reset it and then set it again for whatever your needs are. But then some could have like a maintenance mode, so you switch it to maintenance mode with your PIN, and then you have to reactivate it. There's definitely ways to go around that. But unfortunately, if you look at the recent things about stealing the new RX and the NX, they smash the car. They actually rip out your glove compartment to get access to a system in there. And when you look at that, they're overriding some security systems that Toyota and Lexus has added in. And unfortunately, they found a way to reprogram their keys or get a new key fob going that route. So definitely, when the manufacturers do something, the hackers or thieves will find another way to go around it. And this will just never be an ending cycle until something gets figured out. I hope that you found that this video was informative, and until next video, drive safely. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please comment, like, share this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel and press that bell icon to get notified when new videos are posted. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can provide me a super thanks. And until next time, cheers.